Welcome back to HyzerMedia's coverage of the Disc Golf Open of Pennsylvania, presented by Home Again Disc Golf. Thank you to Home Again for supporting both this coverage and the tournament. Thank you also to our Patreon family. You can support HyzerMedia on Patreon for as little as $2 a month. I'm Nathan Johnson, and today I am joined by notorious second place finisher in playoffs, Dylan Horst.
I just had to get it in there.
Always.
For those who don't know, Nathan and I played in a playoff earlier this year, and he beat me on the first hole of the playoff.
I will never let him forget it. All right, as we jump right back into the back nine of this third round, we've got quite a close-knit card score-wise, so we'll see how these players are able to separate themselves here coming down the stretch.
Yep, this is hole 10, par 3, 173 feet. A slight backhand hyzer. There are a lot of trees in the way, at least as far as the airspace, so it's looking for a very particular line. First two shots here, they were just a little right. They weren't swinging far enough left to hit the main gap. And Harry Chace going for his shot as well. Hugged it left, but a little too left.
Yeah, he didn't quite make it up the hill there. It is a pretty steep slope up to the kind of platform where the basket is. So the miss is definitely on that right side. You can sometimes get a little bit squirrely up where those stairs are. But Lucas hung that one out a little bit too wide.
Yeah, then Cody Bradshaw from circle 2. He's been on fire, just a couple inches short.
So close.
And Harry having to deal with this wall, throwing a nice scuba shot. Almost had it. Yeah,
doing his best Brody Smith impression, but unable to convert. We'll see if Jake can, from about circle's edge here, just a little left.
Let's see if Lucas can convert. He just pitched up from where he was. He was far enough right that just walked up and pitched real quick before the cameras to get in position.
Yep. So the shortest hole on the course, but it's definitely a tricky gap. A lot of elevation and a low ceiling makes this one a tough birdie. So we're going to see 4 pars from our lead card and kind of no harm, no foul.
Then jumping right into hole 11, we're playing the orange basket, which is straight over this creek here. It's 247 feet. So the creek actually plays out of bounds. And if you land in the creek, you actually play from the drop zone with your penalty stroke. If it goes out of bounds in the road past, you just play normal OB rules. So Cody's trying to have a slight turnover, just gets an unlucky bounce off of that tree and just skids right into the path. So he will play three from just inside.
Yeah, almost a good shot from Cody. Just leaked it a little left and a little deep. Distance control is important on this one, as the landing zone is probably depth-wise smaller than the circle. So you really got to make sure you commit to your shot, keep it on that right line, and just slide it up to the basket.
Yeah, and Jake pulled it a little right, banked off the tree on the other side of the creek, rolled out of bounds, and then Harry just a little short on his upshot, but Lucas was able to make sure he got the height and pace correct, and then the grass just took over, and he was right next to the basket.
Yep, so here's that drop zone you were talking about on the other side of the creek. It's probably a 60-footer or so to this elevated basket. A really tough putt to commit to, especially with that OB path right behind. So you're probably just going to see some half bids and layups out of these two.
Exactly, and just being elevated enough just adds that other factor. As Cody, no factor involved. He was able to convert.
Yeah, that's a great par save
that circle's
there.
Edge putt. Around that circle's edge, he's on fire.
Yeah, 15-footers, no, not great, but 30 to 35 feet, he's money. That was Lucas for birdie, just a little bit right, kind of scoops out of the basket, and he's going to have to tap in a par.
Yeah, very unfortunate. He wanted to get at least one on the card there. At least he's getting one on Harry and Jake, but obviously he was hoping for two, especially being the only one that was in bounds. He was definitely hoping to convert.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate miss, but like you said, still gets a stroke, and now we have another three-way tie at the top going into hole 12, which is a par 4. It's definitely a two-shot hole. I personally like to play my first shot short over towards that bridge, and you can see this basically where the drone's flying, which leaves a nice forehand pitch up to the basket that goes over the creek. You might see some players try to push a little straighter off their drive and make it to, also a second gap a little farther down the creek, and then pitch across for a shorter second shot. So we'll see what our players decide to do. You can either go big off the tee or big on your second shot.
Yeah, Cody here throwing a raptor, just trying to get as close as he can to the biggest tree out there so he can leave himself that nice open forehand gap again.
Yeah.
Basically just cutting the hole in half, throwing the same disc twice.
You're bad.
Wow. Is that OB?
Yeah, Lucas unfortunately hit the tree, banked, and actually hit the stump on the other side, but there was just enough space between the stump and out of bounds that it never came back.
It's a tough break. So Jake's going for that second gap that I was talking about, and looks like Harry's doing the same, trying to bite off a lot more off their drive, and then hopefully sets up a nice easy chip across the creek for their second shot.
Here's Lucas trying to figure out where he wants to take his second shot from. So under the PDJ rules, when your shot is out of bounds, you can take an unlimited amount of relief from where your disc is out of bounds or where it crossed out of bounds. So he's trying to figure out how far back he can go to still have enough space to swing a forehand through the gap and try to get as close as he can to the pin. Unfortunately, he caught some cabbage on the way out, still in bounds on the other side, but it was definitely looking to try to get up and down.
Yep, so here's that forehand I was talking about from Cody. It's just going to be a nice, easy hyzer, probably 250 feet or so, but that takes an unfortunate roll and is going to drop into the creek out of bounds.
Yeah, very unfortunate from Cody. Let's see if Jake can do something. He has a nice little gap of the forehand, but just leaves it a little bit short. Hit the gap perfectly, just not enough pace.
Yeah, a little uncommitted there from Jake and just kind of fluffed it. See what Harry's got. Yeah, he had a great drive, plenty of ways down the fairway, and that is that second gap that I mentioned, wide open, just a little chip forehand. Should be a pretty easy birdie.
Jake here just throwing his up shot, just trying to get as close as he can after the unfortunate, just undercommitted shot. Got it right up next to the basket, which is great. And Lucas here trying to get as close as he can as well, just playing a nice forehand over the 10-mile-per-hour sign.
Yeah, this is another common tight green OB, very close on either side. So, and that's a great putt for Cody to save the par after that roll out of bounds.
Yeah, no, it's a very tough hole. We definitely saw it with a few of our players here. You know, the unfortunate roll. Jake just a little undercommitted on his shot. OB on both sides. The one side is probably about 20 feet. The road's probably about 35 away. So, and it gets smaller as it gets closer to the basket. So it's just a little tough.
Yeah, very tough. But this hole is not too tough. Hole 13, it's a par 4. We're playing to the long basket, but it's really not that long of a hole in general. They call it a par 4 because of the elevation. So you're not really going to see a lot of players having putts on their second shot. You pretty much just want to play something as far up the hill as possible and kind of chip your way to the basket. I don't think 338 is exactly right. It probably plays a little closer to 400 feet, but still not a very long hole for a par 4.
Exactly. I mean, the gap here right off the bat seems pretty open. You want to just see how much you can power it up the hill. Harry unfortunately kicks off the left-hand side of the tree, still goes forward, but unfortunately comes up out of bounds.
Yeah, that's really the only danger on this hole is that road, that path on the right-hand side kind of just stays on the right side the whole way and eventually ends about, well, it doesn't end, but the basket comes up about 15 feet from it. So on your approach, you want to make sure that you're leaving it left and don't bring that OB into play. But as long as you keep your drive away from it, you shouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, Cody just played for the short basket, just a little pass as far as he could, just trying to get himself in position. And Lucas just hits the fairway driver right up the gut, tries to get as far as he can as well.
Jake leaves that one a little left and catches a tree. I also will mention that if you saw Lucas land on a path there, that one is not OB. It's just another gravel kind of road in the middle of the fairway, but is inbounds. So good recovery shot there from Jake to just kind of bite off a little more distance, and hopefully should be a stress-free par from there. It's only about 150 feet from the basket from that path.
Harry with a great upshot with a tactic right underneath the basket. Exactly what he wanted after getting an unfortunate kick out of bounds. And Cody, just the Raptor, nice little upshot. Leaves it a tad bit short, but still inside the circle. He's going to be happy with that.
Yep, Jake with a long jump putt there. Not trying to give that any bid, just laying it up for the easy par.
Yep, Lucas had a nice upshot as well. He just jump putted it in, and Cody converting on the birdie. Now he's opened up his range from circle 2 to 25 feet.
Yep, that's a nice putt. Looked a little left. He was a little unsure, but still caught, not a problem. And he's able to get the birdie. Jake's going to tap in his par here, and Lucas with that really nice drive was able to bite off a ton of distance off the tee, had a stress-free up and down for his birdie.
Here we are at hole 14. Thank you, Elevation Discs, for helping sponsor this event and this coverage. Again, hole 14, par 4, 506 feet. So most players are going to play this left gap the way the drone's flying. This right here is more of the long backhand turnover shot. Most players that have the power forehand are going to try to throw it and push straight as far as possible. But those that do not have a proficient forehand power distance are going to go for this shot like Cody is doing, trying to do that long turnover. Just a little undercommitted, but he has most of the distance down, so it's going to be pretty easy up and down from there. A couple trees to deal with here and there.
Yeah, placement's not too important on this hole. As long as you bite off enough distance off the tee, there's a couple of different lines depending on where you land to get up and down from. Where Lucas is, there's just a nice, easy backdoor backhand hyzer from there. Where Cody is, he might have to get a little squirrely with some sort of flex line or something like that.
Yeah, Lucas, that was great forehand power. Not too many players can have forehand that goes that far with that less effort. It's pretty special to watch.
Yeah, and that's a great shot from Harry.
A little low. Yeah, Harry just a little low on the tee shot. That's okay. It'll work. Just in position.
I'd love to see somebody throw a roller on this hole. I think you could probably get a putt if you hit the angle right. It just really shapes for that kind of shot. And but Jake doesn't need a roller, and he turns the catch cam there with a really. Is that the basket?
Yeah,
wow,
he has a jump putt into the basket. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah, that's a crush of a drive from Jake. 400 plus for sure.
Terry with just a simple upshot, nice little hyzer with a putter just to get up and down. Lucas is looking to see if he can give this a bid and just finishes a little left, but still inside the circle. A little bit of a tester coming back.
Yep, here's Jake for an eagle from maybe 60 feet uphill. There was a tree in his way, so he couldn't quite give that a full bid.
And here's Lucas trying to tap in his birdie. He's found a stroke. There you go. Great putt, Lucas.
Yep, nice recovery putt there. Rest of his card will have stress-free tap-ins, and that's our first star frame of the day. Kind of surprising on a course like this for our lead card to make it all the way to hole 14, but better late than never, I guess, right?
Exactly. But this this course has teeth. So we've seen it on the front nine. We've seen it here on the back nine already. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong.
Yep. Definitely more things that can go wrong on this hole, as you'll see. The tee shot's pretty straightforward. Generally, you want to play something straight and finish out here to the left where the drone is flying. There's the most airspace on your approach back here, and then you can kind of chip a forehand around the outside. It's important to keep your approach shot close to the basket because you can see that elevated pin on the slope with the OB nearby makes things very tricky when you have a 40-foot death putt lined up for your birdie.
Yeah, it's just another thing to think about when you get closer to the basket on that putt. Sometimes you want to eliminate all the variables, but some you can't. Cody with a pretty good shot down the middle, a little shorter than what he wants and a little less left than he wants, but he'll make do.
Yeah, Lucas has enough distance. He can just throw this as straight as and far as he can, and he'll just have a little chip, probably less than 200 feet from there. So I'm sure he'll find a line.
For sure. And then here's Harry making sure he gets left enough just to try to expose that left-hand side, like you were saying before. Be a nice, easy chip forehand or even a nice turnover backhand. Just depends how the trees are lining up to his approach.
Yep. Yeah, and Jake does almost the identical drive. I think, and yeah, in my opinion, this is pretty much a perfect drive from both of those two. Should be a pretty straightforward stock forehand hyzer approach from there.
Cody here having to be creative on his upshot, just with how everything is laid out. He had to be a little creative with turnover forehand. Unfortunately, just not getting as close as he wants. And then here's Jake with the nice wide open swinging forehand. Try to get as close as he can to the elevated basket. Gets it within 20.
Yep, nice shot by Jake. Harry leaves this a little short and catches a tree. That's going to be a very scary putt from there. I would be surprised if he runs it from 40 feet downhill on this elevated pin.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lucas, his jump putt approach just goes a little bit too far just because it's slightly sloped downhill. As soon as he gets over the ridge, he just left it just a tad too high that it just kept going.
Wow, that's a great putt from Harry. Death putt, slope behind on the elevated basket from outside the circle, and he just barely squeaks it in off the right side of the rim.
That was a great putt. Lucas, unfortunately, just leaving it just low.
Yeah, didn't quite commit to that uphill putt.
And Jake here trying to convert on his birdie from about 20, 25 feet away. Just high enough.
Yep, top shelf, drops it in. It's a nice birdie to get.
Exactly. Like you were saying earlier, that left side just opens up as soon as you get far enough. So Jake played it to perfection. A couple unfortunate pars from the rest of the card, but they're hoping to see what they can do next round to get redemption.
Yeah. Going into hole 16, another shorter par 4. This tee shot's a lot tighter, I should say, than the last hole. In my opinion, you don't want to be straight. If you either throw the backhand or the forehand to finish left or right of this fairway, then you can throw another hyzer out and around all this grouping of trees on your upshot. Makes it a little bit easier. The players on this card definitely have enough power where if they just juice one straight, I'm sure they can scramble for their birdies. But to make the hole as stress-free as possible, you want, honestly, something like this. That's not the worst kick ever because it's pretty open there on the left side.
Exactly. It's one of those pick your own adventure type of holes. You can try to get as far as you can off the tee shot and then just see how things play out. Like here, Jake went a little left, got fortunate enough to get next to these trees, but it's a pretty simple upshot. But it's just a matter of where your disc lands and kind of what trees are in your way and how everything sets up.
Yeah, you can play this hole 10 times and have 10 different upshots to try to get your birdie, just depending on what kind of late trees you hit or what kind of disc, what kind of line you choose to take. So we see pretty much everybody go for the, straight pushing hyzer, and they'll all have opportunities to find some line to get their birdie.
Yeah, Harry the shortest of them, but still has an option. He's trying to throw this long swinging forehand. Unfortunately, just a tad too high. Flips off one of the branches, just drops down.
Yeah, the other three are going to have to find something through the middle. There's a couple different gaps, I'm sure. Yeah, Lucas and Cody both like the kind of turnover forehand down the right side and are going to both have round circle's edge putts.
And then Jake actually in pretty prime position. He just has to throw a little hyzer just around the trees, and then just try to slide it right up there and within 10 feet.
Yeah, that's really well done. If you bite off enough distance on this tee shot, it should be a pretty stress-free birdie. But if you catch an early tree, that's where the trouble can come in quick.
Exactly. Yeah, Lucas with a great birdie putt there. Circle's edge, building the confidence. Didn't get the start he wanted, but right now it seems like the pieces are starting to fall into place.
Yeah, Lucas is definitely by no means out of it. That 5-stroke lead that he carried into the round is coming in handy right about now as he's starting to pick up momentum, and hopefully he'll be able to keep it into the 4th and final round later in the afternoon of this day.
Yeah, it seems like this group is starting to come together, at least a decent amount of them on putts. Cody has definitely turned around on, the just inside the circle putts. Seems like he's made a decent amount of them in a row. So starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All these guys starting to wake up, starting to warm up, and hoping to finish strong. We got 2 holes left. First of which is hole 17. It's a par 3. Goes over this bit of a gully and then back up the hill. You'll see probably most players throwing a forehand if you have the power, or a slow turning backhand from left to right will work as well. Kind of anything that digs into the hill and slides to the right at the end will give you a putt.
Yeah, Jake, unfortunately, there just leaves it a little too high. It's the one branch sticking out and just takes all the momentum out of the shot. And Cody here, a little inside, but just inside enough to give himself a circle's edge putt, maybe just outside.
Yeah, not a bad shot at all. This is a nice looking line from Lucas, just something that pushes nice and straight. And that is a nice, convenient tree right there to give him a probably 15-footer for his birdie.
Exactly. Yeah, that disc was moving pretty fast. So if it didn't hit the tree, I don't know if it would have slowed down in time.
Yeah.
But Harry here just turns it over just a tad. Didn't have enough fade, but still going to have a circle 2 putt to see what he can do. Try to walk into 18 with a good shot.
Yeah, it looks like about a 45, 50-footer, a little bit downhill. Gives it a little step. Just a little high. Didn't quite get the height right on that downhill.
Yeah, going to have a little bit of a tester coming back. But Cody from just outside the circle, just a couple inches short.
Yeah, he knew it was nose down out of the hand. Just didn't quite give it the height he needed on that one. And Harry, that's a great cleanup there, about 27-footer for par to not lose any more strokes. Although he will lose a stroke to Lucas, who with that fortunate tree kick is going to end up pretty much parked for his birdie, with the rest of the card taking pars as we head into the final hole of this round.
Yeah, hole 18. Oh, man, things are all tied up at the top. It's getting good. All right, we're at hole 18, playing the orange basket. Par 4, 494 feet. This hole plays downhill a majority of the way. Now, out of the tee, most of the players are going to play this gap right here where the drone's flying to try to land somewhere around here, and then having a nice, easy pitch up to the basket. Really, the hardest part on this shot and on the tee shot is just trying to get as far as you can. Most players are just going to play a mid or a putter straight down the gap. Not too many people are really going to go for broke on this one. It's just a matter of putting yourself in position here.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't.
You're trying to throw.
Oh no. The forehand's an interesting choice here. I get the idea is he's trying to, throw something that's going to finish right away from that out of bounds road. But there just really isn't a gap over there. So if you take an unfortunate kick like he did, it's that OB comes in really quick.
Yeah, it's pretty tough because he's been trying to throw that long turnover forehand most of the day, and it just seemed like the first 2 times he tried to throw it, just overturned it, and 2 of them were just unfortunate.
Yeah. Cody there also overturns his drive, so he's going to be on the right side rough. We'll see if he's able to manufacture something to get himself a putt for birdie.
Now, while Harry here is throwing the perfect drive right out of the gap, nice mid-range. He has less than 100 feet to the basket. It was a great shot.
Yeah, that's ideal. Lucas is trying to give himself a chance to save a par here, and he does a really great job of that. Just a nice big wide hyzer over OB most of the way, comes back in and gives himself probably a 20-footer.
Yeah, Cody has to manufacture a shot here. Low ceiling, uncomfortable footing, but able to get it out in the open. Probably has another circle's edge, circle 2 putt. Try to finish out his round.
Yep, Jake's in a very similar spot. He's got that one tree to miss on the right. He does, but doesn't quite give it enough. Tough to generate the power there, kneeling in the rough.
Exactly. At that point, it's just a lot of core and a lot of shoulders, but just really tough when you don't have a lot of space to deal with. And Harry there, nice upshot, probably a lot farther away than he wanted, but see what he can do.
Jake with a decent bid there for probably just outside the circle for his birdie, but he isn't able to convert. Cody's got a similar look, probably 35-footer. Just can't quite find the chains.
Yeah, just a little high. It's been all over the basket today. Just height's been a little off.
Yeah.
That was a perfect putt from Lucas. Great save, great scramble.
And this is for birdie for Harry to take a one-stroke lead going into the final round, and he is able to convert. A really great round from Harry, was able to close the gap on Lucas and then some.
And another great putt by Cody. Way to finish out his round. Little putting woes here and there, but he'll walk into the next round ready.
For sure. Jake's going to be the last to clean up here. Taps in his par. And that'll do it for round 3 of the Disc Golf Open of Pennsylvania, presented by Home Again Disc Golf. Taking a look at our leaderboard, Harry Chace, a 6-under round puts him in the lead, followed closely behind by Lucas Oberholtzer Hess. Dave Dunn jumping up with a 9-under, and Jake Ritchey maintains his spot on the lead card going into this 4th and final round. Thank you again to Elevation Disc Golf and Tono Group for supporting this coverage. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Dylan, for joining me for this round. I'm excited to see how this one finishes out.
Of course, I'm super excited as well. And being on the ground definitely helps to have a little bit of insider information on how everybody's feeling. But yeah, make sure you click on back and come back and watch the exciting conclusion of this round.